Hello, everyone. And this is today's panel discussion and AI upspring from digital strategy to fashion innovation in the supply chain. So we have all three exceptional lineup of panelists, each bringing a distinct lens on the implementation and impact of AI from content creation and production to supply chains and education. So let's welcome Leslie Holden, Ben Garden, Phill Kao. Welcome again, everyone. And so if you have any questions for the panelists, feel free to drop on the YouTube chat room, and we will ask afterwards in the Q&A session. So now let's dive into the conversation. So first of all, I would like to ask Leslie and Ben. So from your perspective, how would you assess the current state of AI implementation across the fashion industry?
Will I go first?
Yeah, you go first, Leslie. I can go
Yeah,
after.
sure.
Um, well, I think without a doubt, AI implementation is rapidly advancing across the fashion industry. I mean, we can see that. We can see that in so much that we read and that we hear and that we know. I'd say it's moved from an experimental phase into into practical application. And I would say that the main areas that's spanning are trend forecasting, design, marketing, communication, and retail. And I would say the most significant traction is really evident in data-driven areas like trend forecasting and personalized marketing content creation, because they offer immediate, measurable benefits. Um, well, AI in design is catching up. You can see that there's movement in that area, but it faces more resistance due to, I think, perceived impact on creative roles, on what this will mean for the creatives already working without an idea of how to use AI. In the textile industry, AI is also seeing strong adoption for production optimization, enhanced quality control, which all leads to increased efficiency and reduced waste. So what's there not to like in that? But despite these advancements, I think adoption still lags in areas with complex legacy systems. So, where high upfront investment is a barrier, and also, most importantly, due to really a persistent skills gap within the workforce. And for me, that is the most realizable point where we can do something quite effectively and quite quickly from education's perspective to actually ensure that graduates who are coming out today have are being educated thinking more about employability and thinking about what skills they actually need in the workforce when they come out, particularly for creatives. Um, I think I think that's all I need to say at the moment. Ben, what have you got to add to build on that?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Leslie, I think we agree, so that's good. I think to Leslie's point, it's widespread across different teams, but it's also super scattered. So, like you mentioned, I think there's some areas that it was more easily implemented, or maybe the people doing that job were, I guess, are more aligned to pick it up. So, trend forecasting is obviously going to be lots of data involved, and the people already dealing with that data are probably very open for quicker, easier ways to handle it, and always looking to optimize. So I think it fits them nicely. But then when you do get to design teams and textile teams who are, love that their favorite part of the job is probably sketching on paper, and now that's the part that maybe is potentially being replaced or being augmented, I would say. I think it's harder to implement there. So yeah, most of the brands we've spoken to have this. It's like a very top down. The leadership of the brands go to every team like, "Hey, implement AI," but there isn't really, and a lot of the time, like a clear directional plan. And so then it just varies team by team. So design teams find it much harder. I think the solutions aren't as good for them yet. I think that's part of it. Whereas, yeah, like Leslie mentioned, for trend forecasting, for marketing, the solutions are so much better. And so you're seeing the teams pick it up faster. But then it looks like you have design teams lagging behind, and so then they're being pushed. And yeah, I think there's huge drive, but it's scattered at the moment, I would say. Because every team, it's so different for every team and how they'd use it. So it's quite hard to have a one single plan strategy for each team that's going to work. It's different people, different solutions. Yeah, what your, marketing team or your CRM team, what would resonate with them is not going to resonate with the design team. So you need two different approaches to each group. Yeah.
Can I just add in there, sorry, before we go on to Phil,
Sure.
that we, I would say maybe it was a year and a half ago now, for the Digital Fashion Group, I interviewed the design director of a very, very important, huge design company, fashion design company. And I asked him about how the designers in that company were using digital tools. And he said, oh, no, well, the designers aren't interested. The designers are sketching on paper, as Ben said, and then it's handed on to the technical designers. And so, I mean, this was me talking about 3D virtual prototyping, and that was not long ago. And there's companies still struggling to get over that barrier, and then suddenly there's AI on top of that, or as well as that. So I think it is a lot from the creative perspective how we rethink the role of the designer. What does the designer do in his job or her job? Sorry to jump in there.
Yeah, that's really a good point, Leslie and Ben, because you guys are just the designer and also the brand, where we consumers and everyone can see in front. Whereas Phil, you are like in the supply chain and in the textile industry. So what's your take on this current state of AI implementation in the textile industry? It must be even harder, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I will definitely make it simple. So, for not only textile industry but for fashion industry, like all those kind of AI technology out there, AI technology is everywhere. Like the technology is improved daily and maybe hourly. So the technology definitely we cannot catching up. So for as a AI from our perspective, from Moria perspective, from my perspective, like the main reason and the key to apply AI to your like workflow or to use AI to your daily job, what's the most important thing is to define the problems that suitable for AI scenario, suitable for AI to help you to improve your efficiency, to help you cut down the cost or something like that. So for the very first things that everybody try to adopt AI to the daily, the very first things is define the problem. So to define the problem, you definitely need to know like what AI can do. What, for example, is I just mentioned in my sharing, like what AI agents can do for you and what large language model can do for you, what machine learning can do for you. When you have a briefly understand about what they can bring, they can do, and you guys can starting to define the problems from now on. When you started to define the problems and you're finding out like certain points like really suitable for AI to use this, and then you Google it, you use ChatGPT to ask it, it will provide what kind of company or what kind of technology that you can use when you're trying to solve your problems, solve your list about solve a lot of problems that you already defined. So the first thing is to do the problem definition, and to do a good problem definition, you definitely need to know what AI agents, what larger model, and what machine learning can bring to you guys. Yes, this is my answer right here.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like all the engineers says, define and conquer. That's what we always think, right? So talking about this workflow, Ben, so your work demonstrates dramatic reduction in content production time through AI. So how do you see AI tools reshaping day-to-day workflows or for creative teams or like a campaign execution?
Yeah, I think like you mentioned there, the first thing is it's much, much faster. One of the brands we work with, they were making, I think, 80,000 ads a year, so like static digital banners a year. And they had the team has stayed the same size, but they had six people in that team doing that. And now there's just one person.
Mm.
Um, so their focus now has shifted so much more on like perfecting the one instead of creating the thousands. So I think there's like more focus on high quality upfront, and then using AI or automation to scale the or to scale it. The boring part. The other area, yeah, I suppose you could almost put it into two camps. There's optimizing existing workflows, which is that version I've already, mentioned there, which is things they're already doing that they could now do faster. But there's also doing things that they weren't doing before. So I mentioned, I think I touched on it earlier, but localization. This company obviously wanted to localize all of their assets, but they didn't have the time, the money. But now this brand is able to, for every market, yeah, localize for their core market. So yeah, I think it varies, but there's obviously the huge cost cutting, there's the speeding up, um, yeah, and exploring things that they weren't doing before. The second part is harder, getting teams to try things that they weren't doing before and saying, hey, you don't just need to replace the things you're doing already. You could now look to actually do these things that maybe you wanted to do. Like video is another one. They all wanted to create video, but it was too expensive, took too long. And now they're like, oh, we can have a video on every single page. But they're still kind of getting to grips with that it does open up new avenues. Um, but yeah, day to day, I think it's funny because it happened. I think like that the Industrial Revolution. They said that when we get all these tools, we'll all be working 2 hours a day, and all of us will be doing just leisure all the time. So I think they're all still working the same number of hours. They're just getting a lot more done. So that seems to be what's happening at the moment, which is maybe not what everyone wants to hear, but
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, it's true that, people don't want to change, right? So if there's anything that, you have to kind of change or, go out of your comfort zone, then it must be a kind of transitional, no matter on emotion or on, physical activities. So, there's often tension between automation and creativity. So how do you envision the ideal collaboration between AI and human professionals in the near future? And let's start from Leslie, in terms of like, on for the designer part, how do you envision that?
I think from a designer's point of view, yeah, I would say AI acts as a creative assistant and like a knowledge base for designers. AI can offer inspiration in theme, in concept building, um, in design variations, trend analysis that we mentioned before,
Mhm.
also on technical insights. How are these things possible in this design? Is this possible to make? So I think designers can focus more on their key role, actually, what the fundamentals of their training was as a conceptual pioneer, um, an ethical thinker, and and they can be narrative architects as well, focusing on the groundbreaking concepts and curating AI generated outputs with unique aesthetic value. So I think it's really about finding another way of expressing clothing than what we already know. I think AI can empower designers to achieve, yeah, more strategic and impactful work. Um, basically, basically more strategic and impactful work. I think it can really help a designer understand more about help them develop more about the area that they really, really want to work on. But I also think when it comes to SME designers or an SME design brand, a small, medium enterprise with a tight budget, AI can really and certainly improve the efficiency and cost benefits for that kind of size of company.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah. Well, we've seen, a lot of they say like 3D design tools, and then now they also implement AI so that it makes even, much better and easier to use and then to help designers
Yeah.
creating the images as well. And
Yeah.
then for so I would like to know is Phil. So do you think that, in terms of factories operators or like in the textile industry, so how do you see this ideal collaboration between AI agents, if I can say so, with human professionals?
Yeah. As I just mentioned, like in textile industry, like what's the most critical things is that the labor shortage. So the experience is actually the treasure of a factories of a textile industry. Like so, this kind of experience need to be kept. So, our AI agents, our platform is actually to like help them to keep this kind of knowledge. So when we can keep the knowledge as much as possible to put it on our platform, and our AI agents can do the observations based on this kind of knowledge. So after that, when we try to that's the operators or the workers in textile industry to cooperate to interact to have interaction with our AI agents, they can feel like more close to them to themselves, because our AI agents, our large model can answer the textile related questions more precisely, more professionally. So it creates a better user experience for our customer to use this kind of AI. It feels like some very a great worker, like very experienced workers out there to teach you to do something. So for this kind of application, this kind of interaction between AI agents and workers in textile industry, it will create a great benefit within this kind of process. They can improve the efficiency a lot. They can get the information that they wanted very easily from our AI agents. So starting from this kind of point, I think to adapt AI within all the textile industry is much more easier, because the AI agents is interact with human, not with equipment. So in the past, the machine learning, the deep learning is do the interaction with equipment, with a lot of operation process. But right now, we make the machine learning, deep learning, AI agents have an interaction with human. When starting from this main point, like they can start to use AI daily to integrate all these functions to their process, to improve their efficiency, to get whatever they want with our AI agents. So back to the questions, I think what matters the most is to make sure like using AI, this kind of tools become we become what we it feel like when it feels like we're using ChatGPT daily. In textile industry, they're using our AI agents, larger model daily, and it will become a tool that you can live without. So this is actually what I try to bring to you guys, like what is the initial point of using cooperate with AI and human being. Yes.
Yeah, actually, absolutely, because reflect what Ben just said. When you are in the creative environment, or when you've already doing this, and then AI as a tool then can just like advancing or like helping it make the decision faster, or create images, or like making decisions faster and better and more efficient. So this is with the because last time in the conversation with another tech founders, they in the textile industry, they just said that, basically supply chains employees are really lack of skills or understanding what is the technology is about. So, creating all these tools really can help, no matter it's front end for the generative AI or mid journey for the creators or designers, but also, for the supply chain, if you have this textile GPT, then the people can learn from it. And then it's really, kind of helping the industries both, it's really good. But when we talk about, lack of talent, well, Leslie, I would like to ask you because the fashion industry faces a talent skill gap. So, what are the key challenges the industry is facing today? And then what fundamental changes do you believe are urgently required? Because we discussed a lot about, now the industry is a lack of talent, and then we need, because, AI is becoming more prominent, right? So from your perspective, so what kind of key challenges that, the industry now is facing in terms of, lack of talent or, like fundamental changes that you think that is really, really urgently now we have to, help?
Um, yeah, I think that to say that the industry's readiness to adopt and implement AI tools effectively, particularly from a talent and education perspective, can be described as, I think at best, nascent. So it's very in its early stages, but it is accelerating. I think there's a clear divide between early adopters like large brands actively investing in AI and the majority, as I said before, of SMEs still in an exploratory phase of, how can we work with this? How can we afford to do this? How can we change our whole workflow, our whole working methods? I would say that from my experience, the challenge is as I touched on before, the lack of talent in areas like AI. I mean, also, in the digitalization of fashion in general. So, I mean, when we started the Digital Fashion Group, like 4.5 years ago, something like that, it was because of a perceived lack of knowledge, both in education and in the industry, about the needs to digitalize the fashion industry rapidly. And it's still there. And now we've got AI on top. So I think a lack of professionalism with combined fashion and AI expertise. There's definitely a lack of professionalism. Yeah, and I think, as I said before, it's really not helped by education, a lag of education by the majority of universities are finding it difficult to integrate practical AI skills into the curriculum. And when I've been talking to universities before about digitalization in the fashion curriculum, I've been very clear about how you cannot just have it as a separate side add-on. It has to be integrated into the body of the curriculum. You can't just have it as a course you can choose if you want to do for 3 weeks in the second year, and then that's it done, and you can move on to other things. Digitalization, AI included, has to be embedded in everything that the students are learning because that's what's needed. I think the crucial resistance is cultural, especially within creative roles, who perceive AI as a threat. I'm going to lose my job because AI is going to take over. And in many ways, there's parts of the job which AI will take over. But AI will be that support, that assistant. It will help you develop more interesting, more creative ideas than you would never have thought of before. I think ultimately, while readiness is improving, the industry requires sustained strategic investment in talent development, education, and cultural shifts to really fully leverage AI's transformative power. So I think where higher education is concerned, it needs to work closer with industry. It needs to work more with a reality of what industry needs from graduates, as well as, of course, a focus on the immense creative possibilities that AI give designers.
Yeah, yeah, that's really important because I know that you've been, advocating and then, sharing all your thoughts on this. And I think the concept is similar to, now in the fashion industry or in industry in general that, large enterprises, well, you can say, you just can think the concept of large enterprises. They also need innovation. They also, has to have talents, but then that's why they have to work a lot with the startups because startups or small businesses that can bring new ideas or new inspiration or technologies and then work together. And given from your points, I think is the same that the universities or the educational institutes need to just work with the industry so that we can have more like sharing and bridging, and then to help for the whole, like the environment of designers and talents.
I think also it's important for the industry to understand that the talent originates in education and that they have to invest in education. Education, in many cases, can't afford to change its curriculum. They don't have the ability within, and they don't have the facilities. So I think it's industry that's crying out for more talent in AI, and it's industry that has to get in there and work with education. They have to give education more support, more money, more facilities, whatever, if they want to get talent. They can't complain that they can't find talent with AI if they haven't supported education to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And Phil, what's your take? You're the AI, in the industry. So do you think that, do you have any, for example, like collaborations with the universities or anything that's in terms of all these trainings and education programs?
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree what Leslie just mentioned. Like, education is very important, not just in fashion industry, in textile industry, definitely very important. Basically, every employees or manager in the textile industry, they don't know what AI is. Have no ideas about what it is. So, as I just mentioned earlier, you definitely need to know what AI is and what AI capable of to help you to understand what kind of tool can help you to improve your efficiency or improve your workflow. So the education part is very important. So me personally, I am from National Ching-Hua University. I'm PhD of National Ching-Hua University. I'm from academic background. I have academic background. So if like AI academic in Taiwan, what we do is to make sure to bring this kind of AI knowledge to all the industry, to different type of industry, because we think this is what matter the most. Because there are two parts of this. Firstly, for technical part, for like innovation part, like I think all the industry right now they need to catch up the trend. The trend is right now the AI will revolutionize all the industry. So they need to firstly to understand what AI is. And me personally, I also have some course, some training for our customer, for our other industry. Yeah, this is also one of my daily job as well. Because firstly, as I just mentioned, they need to know this kind of tool, how to use this kind of tool to solve their problems. And we also help our customer. They when we teach them what AI is, they can define the problem. As I just mentioned, they can define the problem themselves. After they define the problems, and they can start to reach out to company like us, like other startup company or other AI companies to reach out to them to help them to solve the problem. And when they define the problem precisely, and the AI team can help them to solve the problem more directly. So this is also one of the this is the first things that I think that this is very important. And secondly, during the when I'm studying in National Ching-Hua University, our project is called bring AI to industry and make AI a industry. This is two different type of things. The first thing that I just mentioned is to bring AI to the industry. Secondly, is to make AI an industry. So when we started to educate all the industry customer or industry managers or something like that, they started to know what AI is. They will invest more on AI companies or invest more on AI technology. So when the ecosystem just started, when they try to, when the education it needs to be done, and it also needs to be improved from time to time. When the education started, it creates two benefits. Firstly, it makes our customer, our industry can define the problem more precisely. This is the first thing. And secondly, when they know what AI is, they will invest more on AI solution, AI company. When they invest this kind of AI solution and a company like us, then we can serve them better. So this is a loop out there. So what is the beginning of this stuff? Of this ecosystem is the education. So when we started to do the education and this bring AI to industry and let AI become an industry will happen. This kind of ecosystem will happen. Yes, this is my feedback about this part. Yes.
Yeah, interesting. So it's interesting that in all these kind of loop that we have to build, and then to build the ecosystem, and also the loop that to help for the talents and training. But then this what we are talking about is like the current like fashion industry or textile industry that we have those the talent skill sets gap. But then on the other hand, when we talk about like AI natives, Ben, this is my question, that when we talk about the AI natives, for the new generations, they are born in the AI era, so they are very familiar with all these tools. But then all these tools are so many, and so how do you think, in terms of like no matter for the marketing campaign or for like content creation or what you are doing, so do you think that's how those AI natives talents can just really develop their this skill set? Well, they already know about AI, but then they still have to build the knowledge and skill sets, no matter it's on the fashion or fashion knowledge or like designing. What's your thoughts?
Yes, good question. I think it's harder. Maybe it'll get easier. I think it's very hard at the moment because there's such a flood of tools and solutions all promising to be able to do everything. I think at the moment it's just trial and error. So people that are AI natives, if you have a specific use case, excuse me, yeah, if you have a specific use case, I think there are a set collection of tools that you know to use. I think it's been the same with every other technology. So, when you talk about like 3D garments, people go either it's Clo or Browseware. And I think it's going to start to get something like that, where there will be just like standout winning solutions that sit within verticals as a side to horizontally. I think at the moment people are just building. Yeah, I think there's like a drive now to build like the wrappers that sit on top of existing models. Um, to focus really specifically on the use cases. So like whether that is design, whether that is marketing, there are now like solutions coming up that that are built on top of you know ChatGPT or are built on top of Midjourney. Yeah, so I think that the solutions will become so or could become so niche to a specific output that there's only going to be so many that you would select from. I think if you looked at it as a whole, it would be like looking at all the apps that exist. 95% of them aren't going to do what you do, but 5% maybe do. Um, and then it's just trial and error, I think. But yeah, I don't know how we spend like every single day perpetually online trying to find the best solutions for the best output, and mostly it's just like Twitter threads. Hopefully there'll be a better method for doing that soon. But yeah, I think that's where we're at the moment. It's still lots of people building to make the solutions, and there's no clear one right answer yet.
Yeah, I think we're just starting, like what Leslie used to say. Everything. We are just starting with all this journey, and we learn from each other. And talking about like specific, because Phil is building a domain-specific large language model. So I think there will be more and more startups that's uh, joining in the fashion industry and then helping the brands and the industries that's with their specific, like domain and knowledge to, to build the tools for the designers or for the creators. And then, they will be really ideal that, we can just really solve some of the challenges. And now I would like to, switch to the topic is more about sustainability because, with EU's green agenda regulations like digital product passports, so are taking effect, and then no matter brands or like supply chains are preparing for all these new regulations. So Leslie, I would like to know that what role do DPPs play in the future of fashion? Where the future that our wardrobes are full of data. So what do you think that the DPP can play the role for that?
What I said was, I love this question. This is a great. Um, I love the concept of DPPs. I think it's incredible, strong, clear idea, and I'm an advisor for the EU on creative enterprises, so I've known about DPPs for quite a long time. So it's been interesting to see how it's grown. Um, they play really a transformative and central role in the future of fashion, particularly in retail. I think. Fundamentally, I think they will reshape how we interact with clothing from purchase to disposal, really. I mean, a completely different way of thinking about how we are living with our clothing, buying our clothing, the reasons we're buying the clothing, and living with the clothing. They will allow consumers to access, for the first time ever, detailed, verifiable information about a garment's entire life cycle from origin to disposal, fostering, I would say, unprecedented trust from a consumer's perspective in the retailer. So I think these are all the kind of the really powerful and good points about DPPs. They're rich with data, and that data can be crucial for driving circularity by providing essential information for possible repair, resale, efficient recycling, and hopefully extending product lifespan and empowering the consumer to make the right choices. And for the brand, DPPs will optimize supply chains and facilitate new business models based on comprehensive product data. However, there's always another side to these things, isn't there? Are the consumers really interested? I think that's the first question. Are the consumers going to interact with DPPs? This will take some education again. It'll also take the brand to promote the use of DPPs beyond marketing, because they could just use them for marketing purposes, of course. And I think this data-heavy future presents really significant challenges. I think, well, apart from including concerns about consumers' data privacy and the risk of information overload, or worse, green hushing by brands, I think additionally, data accuracy, verification, increased costs, cyber security threats, and complex regulatory harmonization, difficult words to get in my mouth, are crucial considerations to ensure unintended consequences. And what happens in like 2030 something when your wardrobe is full of data? Who benefits from your wardrobe being full of data? I'm not sure the consumer really benefits from that, apart from perhaps like a good example, a good practical example. The last time I was coming to Taiwan and it was like 10 degrees here and 25 something in Taiwan. And I thought, what the hell am I going to wear? Because all my summer clothes had been, packed away somewhere or in another part of the wardrobe. What am I going to wear to go to Taiwan? And I thought, this would be great now if I had this AI assistant to tell me what I should wear in the next week because of the weather in Taiwan and what I have in my wardrobe, and possibly what I still have time to buy and to order online and whatever, so to make my case to go to Taiwan. I can see a huge benefit in that, but I can also see a concern when your wardrobe is hanging full of data and companies know what you've got in your wardrobe. How do you protect that data? How do you make that data yours so that you only share it with people you want to share it with? So positives and perhaps negatives, but we'll wait and see, I think, when it happens, about DPPs.
Yeah, that's really an interesting point and a very, very good point actually, because when I heard that, I already can imagine a lot of business opportunities with, in 2030, our wardrobe is full of data. But yeah, it's true that with the in terms of privacy and cybersecurity, it's really the concern that we also need to be careful. And talking about data, Phil, so given from your experience in integrating structured and unstructured manufacturing data. So what's your take on that? Because Leslie is talking about the consumer side, the brand side, but with DPPs, actually the supply chains is also playing a role that to provide all this data, in terms of transparencies or so what's your take?
Right. Following up several questions about DPP, I think the DPP part, AI agents can also play a role of this because DPP contains a lot of information from you starting to have your material to your manufacturing. So when the DPP started, like every information needs to be collected after collected. If you want to access several information within this DPP, that you can use asking to do this. This is one of the application that we are looking forward to. So as well. And secondly, about the structured data and unstructured data, one of the main point that I would like to share is that in traditional manufacturing like textile industry, like their structured data, their IoT data, their ERP system or all their system, there is not that advanced, and the automation within their like factories is not that completed. So in the past, like machine learning or deep learning, like it requires a lot of like the data, numerical data, structured data, as I just mentioned, from IoT system, coming out from ERP or a lot of system out there. So in the past, like structured data always be a needed things to execute AI models. So right now for unstructured data, right now, at least all the textile industry, they have some PDF file, they have some Word file, they have a lot of image file out there. So in the past, this kind of data is barely used. But right now, with larger model, with AI agents right now, like all this kind of unstructured data can be used to provide information. So the difference between structured data and unstructured data, from my point of view, is that the structured data can create a machine learning or deep learning model. The unstructured data can larger model or AI agents can handle it very well. So from starting from unstructured data right now for textile industry, they can use their unstructured data to interact with AI agent and larger model first. And after that, when they completed or started to collect a lot of IoT information, to collect a lot of EMS or MES data from their system, and after that, we can start to build a machine learning model and deep learning model for them. And because, as I just mentioned, the fluffy effect, the fluffy copilot, the design copilot, as I just mentioned, it is the machine learning model behind it. So after that, when they start to use our AI agents or large model platform, and we can integrate the machine learning model to the platform to create a copilot assistant as well. So unstructured data first, we can deal with this right now with technology right now. And after that, when they collect enough structured data, and we can start to build a lot of machine learning model on top of our platform, and it will become a copilot system for them to start to use to have a better utilization of their both unstructured data and structured data. Yeah, so this is my perspective.
Yeah, so it means that no matter which type of data, well, as long as we can just deploy it in the right systems, and then it can just integrate, like interoperable to become more like interoperable with no matter it's with the app or with any systems like in the industry or in brands, it can be just work smoothly. And so no matter it's work, I mean for the front end, for the back ends, it can be also like good a kind of in implementation. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So
data. Yeah, my suggestion is that you can start from unstructured data because unstructured data is much more reachable. So when you get this kind of unstructured data, then you can start to use AI agent and larger model to solve plenty of things. And after that, structured data can create a larger model, can create machine learning model follow on. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, interesting. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Leslie and Phil. This is very interesting topic. I think for DPP, we definitely have a lot to talk about because, the regulation is, I think it will start the first phase in 2026. So, we still have time to explore and then to, develop and then to discover more. So now I would like to wrap up with my last question because we're running down out of time. So if you could give one piece of practical advice that those companies or people are just starting explore AI or digital transformation, what would it be? So this, because you three are from different perspective and different fields. So let's start from Leslie.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think the most practical advice is to start small, define clear pain points and prioritize. Prioritize what your data foundation is. What is it that you actually want to achieve? I think you should begin by tackling one or two specific problems like optimizing inventory or improving quality control. To achieve some measurable benefits and therefore build momentum. So kind of straightforward things to do. Crucially, before implementing any I think you need to precisely identify the business challenges that you aim to solve. Why are you doing it? Why is your company doing this? Why do you want to do this? I think you should ensure your investment directly addresses inefficiencies in your company, first of all, rather than just making more money. I think lastly, recognize that robust AI relies entirely on high quality, accessible data. So focus on collecting, cleaning, and structuring your data as a fundamental prerequisite for successful long-term transformation. So I think basically what I'm saying is, start small, and plan it carefully and know why you're doing it. I think that's it.
Yeah. Thanks, Leslie. And Ben?
I don't think my answer will be as poetic as Leslie's. But yeah, I think just finding it's similar, I suppose, in that finding the team or teams that are most willing to adopt, most excited to pick it up, and then use them as a sort of a driving force, implement it with them, showcase them as an example to the rest of the organization of what happens if you are interested and do get over the kind of, a fear. Yeah, I think find a team that wants to do it and then use them as a case study for everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Phill?
Yep. From my perspective, it's quite the same with previous two amazing guy. And my point is that we need to embrace a new technology. So when we try to embrace a new technologies, as I just mentioned earlier, like when we try to do we need to definitely start to do the problem definition. You need to define the problem. You need to understand what the technology is capable of. This is the key point that I would like to share to all the not only textile industry, for fashion industry, all this industry, when they started to know what AI capable of, start to embrace the AI technology, not to replace them, is to support them, to help them to create more efficiency out there. So when they embrace the AI technology, embrace the future technology, they can start to define the problem, and after they define the problem, and they can execute it very perfectly. And when the execution comes out very great, they will start to feel what AI can bring to their daily workflow, or to their manufacturing, to their industry operation, or something like that. So my perspective, to embrace a new technology. To embrace a new technology doesn't mean that you need to do a detailed like research about this part, this detailed research left to us, and otherwise, other people just need to understand what this kind of tool are capable of and start to do the problem definition. And after that, I believe that everything will become more and more smoothly. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for three of you. And so now we have a couple of audience questions. So the first one, let me check. Okay, I think this is for Phill and Leslie. If you're Phill, I'm sorry, for Leslie and Ben. So if you feel you have any comments, you are also welcome. So what do you think about the easiness in producing design? Would that not contribute to the overproduction problem in fashion? And in this case, how can AI help to measure and communicate their environmental impact more credibly?
That's
Good
Whoa, it's yeah.
question.
Leslie, go ahead.
Ben?
I think
Ben?
yeah, I think it's a really good question. It's with every technology, there's both a potential massive downside to it and potential massive upside. And the downside is the one they're mentioning, which is if it's now so easy to quickly create, like, does it basically empower fast fashion to be even faster, which is not necessarily a good thing. Um, so that's like the negative side, and I'm sure like with every technology, some will go that way. But there's also the positive side, which is obviously where I'd like to focus more on, or where we try to focus more on, and that's that potentially, you don't even need to produce garments now until they're bought. So the whole design, creation, showing it on a model, usually that requires you having created the garment, there's sampling that goes on in that, there's a photo shoot, so much money and time and energy is spent on creating that asset. But if you can just now create that with AI and then only produce it once it's been bought, then you're kind of avoiding waste altogether. But yeah, the bad side is that people could now create much faster and then just, make 500 items instead of one just to see what works. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I think that there's always going to be bad things happening, of course. And people are always going to look to think, oh, great, let's get AI and reduce costs, which is a bit silly because you have to invest a lot in developing the AI and having your team understand how to work with it and how it works in your system and everything. So just to save money isn't is the wrong way to think about this. But certainly the advantages that AI can give on deepening the knowledge within a team is immense, and it should not be looked at as let's get AI in and then we can cut down our design team. We can just have one designer in AI, or something like that, because that is not going to work.
Yeah. And Phil, do you have any comments on this?
Yes. From my perspective, like we got a lot of requests from this, like ESG issues. Like this kind of issues is like kind of like ESG issues. Our case study is on a also on the in the textile industry, manufacturing. They are making fabrics for Lululemon. So one of the things they're worry about is that their raw material, all of their raw material, for example, their 1,000 kilogram raw material, and after the production line, it will reduce to like 800 kilograms. So there are 200 kilograms loss within the production line process. So what we're trying to do is to help them to use AI to analyze the process to finding out where is the loss come from. And when we can identify the low, where is the loss come from, then we can help them to make sure this 200 kilogram of the raw material will not be lost. Like it will become like 1,000 in and 900 out. So we can reduce the loss rate. By reducing the loss rate, they can reduce in the waste. So the approach from our perspective for manufacturers, we're helping them to reduce the loss rate within the production process. This is the first part. And second part, right now, we're trying to do is also for the fabric manufacturers. Like as everybody know, like we need to dye the fabric. Like we need to doing the dyeing process to make sure our fabric have certain color. But within the data color system, within a lot of different type of system, like you need to use a lot of dyeing material. Like what kind of like you need to put the color on the fabric, so you need to use a lot of different type of color, and this is like the medicine or some chemicals things to dye the fabrics. Like so, we use AI to help them to predict the COD. COD is like the wastewater, like whether the wastewater is clean or not, or this is kind of metrics of wastewaters. So when they before they started to do the production, to starting to do the manufacturing, like we can use their raw material with the chemical they use to dye the fabrics, all this kind of information, we predict the wastewater COD. And this COD, which means the wastewater is clean or not. So before the production, before the manufacturing, that we can help them to predict this COD. So if they want to reduce the COD, they need to adjust their recipe or adjust their use of chemical. So when this kind of AI deploy to their factories, they can have a chance to understand like what kind of chemistry that we use, what kind of dyeing chemistry that they use, the combination of the dyeing like a lot of dyeing chemistry stuff. They need to reduce certain of chemistry to reduce the COD, the wastewater, the COD of wastewater. They can do the simulation before they started to do the production. So from the ESG perspective, we help them to reduce the waste, and we help them to improve the water treatment, to improve the water quality, because like, as everybody know, let's say our industry is it will create a lot of wastewater, and we need to handle this so to reach the goals of ESG. So these two case study I just briefly introduced to you guys. Like these two case study is the approach that we're helping our customer, especially in textile industry, to reach the goals of ESG. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I think we all have the common goals and ideas that, we we just leveraging AI to to do things before producing or before production happened, because to tackle this overproduction and mounting waste issues. And also, for creativity, it's also like, if it's in the marketing or advertising industry, we know that when you shoot a video or something, it was also very costly. But as what Leslie mentioned, that it's not only saving the cost, but also, how you really see the fundamental issues in there. And so thank you. And I think our time is up, and then we just conclude here. And thanks for your insights. And it was really inspiring and then very exciting to see the future of AI. And thank you all. And we talk soon.
Thanks so much. It was lovely having
Thanks.
you. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Leslie. Bye, Ben. Bye, Phil.
Thanks for you guys.
Yeah.
Very happy. See you.
Bye.